Okay, this is chapter 7 of As Good as Dead. 7. Pip couldn't see, sweat stinging the corners of her eyes. She might have pushed herself a little too hard this time, too fast, like she'd been running away, not just running. At least she hadn't seen Max out this time. She'd looked for him, ahead and over her shoulder, but he never appeared. The roads were hers. She lowered her headphones to her neck and walked home, catching her breath as she passed the empty house next door. She turned up her driveway and stopped, rubbed her eyes. They were still here, those chalk figures. 5 little stick people without their heads. Except no, that couldn't be right. It had rained yesterday, hard, and they definitely hadn't been here when Pip left for her run. They hadn't, she swore. And there was something else, too. She bent to get a closer look. They had moved. On Sunday morning, they'd been at the intersection between sidewalk and driveway. Now they had shuffled several inches over, down the brickwork, moving closer to the house. Pip was certain these figures were new, drawn in the hour she'd been out on her run. She closed her eyes to focus her ears, listening to the white noise sound of trees dancing in the wind, the high whistle of a bird overhead, and the growling sound of a lawnmower somewhere close by. But she couldn't hear the squawking sounds of the neighborhood kids. Not one peep. Eyes open, and yes, she hadn't imagined them. 5 small figures. She should ask her mom if she knew what they were. Maybe they weren't supposed to be headless people. Maybe they were something entirely innocent, and her wrought-out head was twisting them into something sinister. She straightened up, the muscles in her calves aching and a sharper sensation in her left ankle. She stretched out her legs and continued toward the house, but she only made it 2 steps. Her heart picked up, knocking against her ribs. There was a gray lump farther along the driveway, near the front door, a feathered gray lump. She knew before she even got close what it was, another dead pigeon. Pip approached it slowly, steps careful and silent, as though not to wake it, bring it crashing back to life. Her fingers fizzed with adrenaline as she towered over the pigeon, expecting to see herself again, reflected in its glassy dead eyes. But she wasn't there, because there was no eyes, because there was no head. A clean, tufted stump where it should be, hardly any blood. Pip stared at it, then up at the house and back to the headless pigeon. She took herself back to last Monday morning, peeled away the week, sorting through her memories. There she was, rushing out the door in her smart suit, stopping as she caught sight of the dead bird, fixating on its eyes, thinking of Stanley. It had been here, right here, 2 dead pigeons in exactly the same place, and those strange shifting chalk figures with arms and legs and no heads. This couldn't be a coincidence, could it? Pip didn't believe in those at the best of times. "Mom," she called, pushing open the front door. "Mom." Her voice rebounded down the hall, the echo mocking her. "Hi, sweetie," her mom replied, leaning out of the kitchen doorway, a knife in her hands. "I'm not crying, I promise. It's these damn onions." "Mom, there's a dead pigeon out on the drive," Pip said, keeping her voice low and even. "Another one?" Her mom's face fell. "For goodness sake, and of course your father's out again, so I'm the one who has to do it." She sighed. "Right. Just let me get this stew on, and then I'll deal with it." No, Pip stammered. "Mom, you're not getting it. There's a dead pigeon in exactly the same place as the one last week, like someone put it there on purpose." It sounded ridiculous even as she said it. "Oh, don't be silly," her mom waved her off. "It's just one of the neighbor's cars." "Cats." "A cat?" Pip shook her head. "But it's in exactly the same place." "Yes, this cat's probably new favorite killing spot. The Williamses have a big tabby cat. I see it in our yard sometimes. Poops in my herb garden." She mimicked stabbing it with her knife. "This one doesn't have a head." "Huh?" "The pigeon." Her mom's mouth turned down at the corners. "Well, what can you say? Cats are disgusting. Don't you remember the cat we had before we got Barney, when you were very small?" "You mean Socks?" Pip said. "Yes, Socks was a vicious little killer. Brought dead things in the house almost every day. Mice, birds, sometimes these great big rabbits. Would chew their heads off and leave them somewhere for me to find. Trail of guts. It was like coming home to a horror show." "What are you guys talking about?" Josh's voice called down the stairs. "Nothing," Pip's mom yelled back. "You mind your own business." "But this is," Pip sighed. "Can you just come look?" "I'm in the middle of dinner, Pip." "It will take 2 seconds." She tilted her head. "Please?" Fine." Her mom backtracked to place the knife on the counter. "Quietly, though. I don't want Mr. Noisy coming down and getting involved." "Who's Mr. Noisy?" "Nosy. Sorry." Josh's small voice followed them out the front door. I'm getting that kid some earplugs, I swear to God, Pip's mom whispered as they walked out onto the driveway. Right, yes, I see it. A headless pigeon exactly as I imagined it. Thanks for the preview. It's not just that. Pip grabbed her arm and walked her down the driveway. She pointed. Look at those little chalk figures. They were here a couple of days ago, too, nearer the sidewalk. The rain washed them away, but they're back and they've moved. They weren't here when I left on my run. Pip's mom bent over, leaning on her knees. She screwed her eyes. You see them, right? Pip asked her, doubts stirring in her stomach, cold and heavy. Yeah, I guess, she said, squinting even harder. There are some faded white lines. Yeah, exactly, Pip said, relieved. And what do they look like to you? Her mom stepped closer, tipped her head to look at them from another angle. I don't know. Maybe it's a tire thread from my car or something. I did drive to a building site today, so there could have been dust or chalk around. No, look harder, Pip said, her voice spiking with irritation. She narrowed her own eyes. They couldn't just be tire treads, could they? I don't know, Pip. Maybe it's dust from the motor joints. The what? The lines between the bricks. Her mom blew out a funneled breath, and one of the little figures all but disappeared. She straightened up, running her hands over her skirt to smooth out the creases. Pip pointed again. You don't see stick people? 5 of them? Well, 4 now, thanks. Like someone has drawn them? Pip's mom shook her head. Don't look like stick people to me, she said. They don't have heads? Pip cut her off. Exactly. Oh, Pip. Her mom eyed her with concern, the eyebrow slipping up her forehead again. They aren't connected. I'm sure it's just something from my tires or the mail carrier's truck. She studied them again. And if someone did draw those, it's probably just the Yardley's kids. That middle one seems a bit, she pulled a face. It made sense what her mom was saying. It was just a cat, of course, just tired treads or a kid's innocent doodle. Why had her mind jumped so far ahead, thinking they must be connected? She felt the creep of shame under her skin, like she'd even considered the idea someone had left them both here. Even more shameful that they'd left them just for her. Why would she think that? Because she was scared of everything now. The other side of her brain answered. She had a fight or flight heart, felt danger pressing in on her when there was none, could hear gunshots and any sound if she wanted to. Scared of the night, but not of the dark, even scared to look down at her own hands. Broken. Are you okay, sweetie? Her mom had abandoned the chalk figure, studying her face instead. Did you get enough sleep last night? Almost none. Yes, plenty, Pip said. You look pale is all. The eyebrows stretched even higher. I'm always pale. Lost a bit of weight, too. Mom, I'm just saying, sweetie. Here. She slotted her arm through Pip's, leading her back toward the house. I'll get back to dinner, and I'll even make tiramisu for dessert, your favorite. But it's a Tuesday? So, her mom smiled, my little girl's going off to college in a few weeks. Let me spoil her while I still have her. Pip gave her mom's arm a squeeze back. Thanks. I'll deal with that pigeon in a minute. You don't need to worry about it, she said, shutting the front door behind them. I'm not worried about the pigeon, Pip said, though her mom had already moved away, back to the kitchen, Pip listening to her clattering around in there, tutting about these industrial-strength onions. I'm not worried about the pigeon, Pip said again quietly, just to herself. She was worried about who might have left it there, and then worried that she'd thought that at all. She turned to the stairs, walking up to see Josh perched on the top step, chin between his hands. What pigeon? He asked as Pip rested her hand on his head, navigating around him. Seriously, she muttered, maybe I should just let you borrow these more often. She tapped the headphones cradled around her neck. Glue them to your head. Pip went into her room, leaning against the door to close it behind her. She freed her arm from the Velcro phone holder and let it drop to the floor. She peeled her top off, the material clinging to her sticky skin getting tangled around the headphones. They came off together, now in a heap on her carpet. Yeah, she should definitely shower before dinner. And she glanced at the second drawer down in her desk. Maybe just take one, to calm her down and settle her spiking heart, keep the blood off her hands and her mind off of headless things. Her mom was starting to suspect something was wrong. Pip needed to be good at dinner, just like her old self. A cat and tire marks. Those made sense, perfect sense. What was wrong with her? Why did she need it to be something bad, like she was looking for trouble? She held a breath. Just one more case, save Jane Doe and save yourself. That's all it would take. And she wouldn't be like this anymore, misplaced inside her own head. She had a plan, just stick to the plan. Pip quickly checked her phone. A text from Mavi. Would it be weird to have chicken nuggets on top of pizza? And an email from Roger Turner. Hi Pip, should we have a chat sometime this week, now that you've had a chance to think about the offer from the mediation? Best wishes, Roger Turner. Pip exhaled. She felt sorry for Roger, but her answer was the same over her dead body. What was the most professional way of saying that? She was about to open the email when a new notification slotted in beneath. Another message had come through the form on her website to aggtmpodcast@gmail.com. The preview read, Who will look for you? And Pip knew exactly what the full text would say, yet again. She opened up the message from Anon to delete it. Maybe she could set up some kind of blocker that would send them straight to spam. The message opened and Pip's thumb hovered over the trash icon. Her eyes stopped her just in time, catching on one word. She blinked, read the message in full. Who will look for you when you're the one who disappears? P.S. Remember to always kill two birds with one stone. The phone slipped from her hands.